Hello. Welcome to Reality Stories, where stories do come alive. Please subscribe and share with friends. Now relax and enjoy the story. Sophia had always spoken highly of her best friend, Clara. To her, Clara was more than just a friend. She was like the sister she never had. They had gone through thick and thin together. Back when Sophia was struggling to finish her degree and worked odd jobs to survive, Clara was always there, cheering her on, lending a little money, or staying up with her during long study nights. So when life finally smiled on Sophia and she got married to David, the man of her dreams, it only felt natural that she would introduce her dear friend to him. It was a Sunday evening. The dining table was set beautifully. Sophia moved back and forth, adjusting plates, setting cutlery, making sure everything looked perfect. She wanted the dinner to be special. Not just because she wanted David to meet Clara, but because she wanted the two most important people in her life to like each other. David. Sophia called as she placed a bowl of jollof rice on the table. Clara will be here soon. Please be nice. She's been there for me when nobody else was. David, seated on the couch scrolling through his phone, looked up and smiled. I'll be nice. Don't worry. I know how much she means to you. Sophia leaned on the arm of the couch, smiling at him with love. Good. You'll love her. She's full of life. Just then, the doorbell rang. Sophia's face lit up. That's her. She hurried to the door and opened it. Clara walked in, wearing a simple but elegant dress. Her hair was neatly braided, and her smile was as warm as ever. Sophie, Clara exclaimed, pulling Sophia into a tight hug. Clara, you're looking so beautiful. I've missed you. I've missed you too, Clara said, holding her hand. I couldn't wait to finally meet your husband. You've kept him away from me for too long. They both laughed, and Sophia led her into the living room. David, this is Clara, the friend I always talk about. Clara, meet my husband, David. David stood up, extended his hand politely. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Sophia has said so many good things about you. Clara smiled, shaking his hand. And she's told me a lot about you, too. It's like I already know you. They all sat down at the table, and the meal began. Sophia, full of joy, chatted nonstop, telling stories from their university days, how Clara once saved her from being thrown out her hostel, how they used to share one plate of food when money was tight. Clara laughed along, but from time to time, she would steal quick glances at David. David, without even realizing it, seemed entertained by Clara's energy. She cracked little jokes, teased Sophia, and asked David questions about his work. So, David, Clara leaned in slightly, her eyes twinkling. How do you survive Sophia's cooking experiments? I remember she once made soup that even the dog refused to eat. David burst into laughter, nearly choking on his food. Oh my God, don't remind me. She tried to make a goosey once, and it turned into, I don't even know what to call it. Sophia playfully slapped his shoulder. David, don't embarrass me in front of Clara. The room filled with laughter, and Sophia felt happy. She was proud. Her husband and her best friend were getting along. That was exactly what she wanted. What she didn't see, however, was the way Clara's eyes lingered on David whenever he spoke, or how her smile softened when he laughed. Clara masked it well, blending it with friendly banter. But in those subtle glances, a seed was quietly planted. By the end of the night, as Sophia walked Clara to the door, Clara hugged her tightly. Thank you for tonight. You're truly blessed, Sophie. David is such a good man. Sophia beamed. I know. God really blessed me. Behind Clara's warm smile, however, there was a thought she dared not voice. If only he were mine. Started innocently. A week after the dinner, Clara stopped by Sophia's house, holding a bag of fruits. Sophie, I just came to check on you. And I brought some oranges and bananas. Sophia welcomed her warmly. Clara, you're too sweet. Come in. Clara became a regular face in their home. Sometimes she came with cooked meals, claiming she didn't want Sophia to stress. Other times, she came under the excuse of checking on the kids, or just passing by. David didn't complain. In fact, he found her presence enjoyable. Clara was lively, funny, and she had this way of listening that made him feel heard. One evening, Sophia was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Clara was in the living room with David, both of them watching a football match. Clara cheered loudly when David's team scored. "Goal! Did you see that?" "Oh, David, that was perfect," she shouted, clapping her hands. David laughed. "Finally, someone who understands football." Sophia doesn't even try. She says it's boring. Clara leaned closer, her voice playful. "Well, that's what best friends are for, to balance each other out. Don't worry, I'll watch with you whenever she's too busy." From the kitchen, Sophia smiled, happy they were getting along, completely unaware of the undertones. The comforting hug. It happened one evening after a small argument. Sophia had been upset that David forgot to pick up groceries on his way home. "David, you keep forgetting little things. I told you we needed tomatoes and pepper," Sophia said, clearly irritated. David sighed, tired. "Sophia, I had a long day at work. Can you stop making a big deal out of everything?" "It's not a big deal, David. It's about you never listening." The argument ended with David walking into the living room, frustrated. Clara, who had been sitting there, looked up in concern. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked softly. David rubbed his forehead. "I'm fine. Just tired. She doesn't understand how stressful my job is." Clara stood up and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "David, don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing your best. I can see it." David looked at her, surprised at her kindness. Clara gave a small smile. Then before she thought twice, she pulled him into a brief hug. "You're a good man, David. Don't forget that," she whispered. David hesitated, then slowly hugged her back. It was quick, but long enough to stir something he couldn't name. Sophia walked in at that exact moment, holding a tray of food. "What's going on here?" she asked, smiling innocently, not suspecting anything. Clara quickly stepped back. "Oh, nothing. I was just cheering him up. You know how men can get stressed." David forced a smile, nodding. "Yeah, just stress from work." Sophia placed the tray down, not thinking much of it. She trusted her best friend completely. But as Clara sat back down, her heart raced. The hug had awakened something dangerous. And though David tried to shake it off, the warmth lingered. The bond between Clara and David grew silently in the shadows of Sophia's trust. And though nothing major had happened yet, the stage was set. The laughter, the comfort, the subtle hugs, all were small cracks forming in Sophia's perfect marriage. It was a rainy evening. Sophia was in the bedroom, folding laundry, humming softly. David sat on the couch in the living room, scrolling through his phone. His eyes weren't on work emails. No, they were on a chat with Clara. Earlier that day, Clara had come by, looking unusually quiet. After Sophia left the room to attend to the kids, Clara had lowered her voice and spoken to David. "David," she began, her tone unusually vulnerable, "can I talk to you about something personal?" David looked surprised. "Of course. Is everything okay?" Clara sighed. "Not really. You see me always smiling and laughing, but the truth is, I'm lonely. I go home every night to an empty house. No one to talk to. No one who really cares." David frowned, his voice softening. "Clara, I didn't know." She gave him a faint smile. "Of course you didn't. I don't show it. People expect me to be strong. But sometimes, David, sometimes I wish I had what you and Sophia have." The words hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. David shifted uneasily. "Clara, don't think that way. You'll find someone. You're beautiful, intelligent. Any man would be lucky to have you." Clara's eyes locked on his. "Do you really think so?" "Yes," David replied quickly, almost too quickly. "Absolutely." She smiled faintly, but inside her heart stirred. Later that night, after Clara had gone, David found himself replaying her words. Lonely, empty house. Something about it tugged at him. Almost unconsciously, he opened WhatsApp and typed, "David, hey, I just wanted to say you're stronger than you think. Don't be too hard on yourself." Seconds later, Clara replied, "Clara, thank you, David. You don't know how much that means to me right now. Their conversation flowed easily, one message after another. Clara teased him about football. He joked about her unhealthy obsession with Suya, and she confided things she had never told Sophia. It became a habit. Nights when Sophia was asleep, David found himself picking up his phone, waiting for Clara's green light to appear. The midnight text. One night, around midnight, Sophia stirred in bed. She turned and noticed the faint glow of David's phone. His fingers were moving quickly, typing. "David," she murmured sleepily. "Who are you chatting with at this hour?" David flinched, nearly dropping the phone. No one. Just work stuff." Sophia yawned and turned her head, but as she shifted, her eyes caught a glimpse of the screen. The name flashed, Clara. Her drowsiness vanished instantly. "Clara? You're chatting with Clara at midnight." David quickly locked the phone. "It's nothing, Sophia. She was feeling down, so I just checked on her. Don't make a big deal out of it." Sophia sat up, her eyes narrowing. "At midnight, David? Since when do you and Clara chat like that?" David sighed, his voice defensive. "She's your best friend. She needed someone to talk to. You should be glad I care about her." Sophia hesitated. She trusted Clara more than anyone. Maybe she was overthinking. "Fine," she muttered, lying back down. David relaxed, but as Sophia closed her eyes, his phone buzzed again. He glanced at it quickly. "Clara, I wish you were mine." David's heart skipped. He stared at the words, feeling both shocked and strangely flattered. He didn't reply immediately, but he also didn't delete it. Instead, he placed the phone face down, a storm already forming in his heart. The opportunity came a few weeks later. Sophia had a short work trip, just 3 days out of town for a seminar. She kissed David goodbye at the door. "Take care of yourself, honey. And please, don't forget to eat properly." David smiled, hugging her. "Don't worry, I'll be fine." Clara was the one who dropped by that evening with food. "Since Sophia isn't around, I thought I should check on you," she said, holding a pot of stew. David hesitated. "Clara, you really don't have to." She cut him off with a playful smile. "Don't argue. Eat." They sat together, eating, talking, laughing. The air between them felt charged, though neither said it out loud. After dinner, David leaned back on the couch, sighing. "Thank you, Clara. Honestly, you didn't have to do all this." Clara looked at him, her eyes soft. "David, can I be honest?" He turned curious. "Go on." "I envy Sophia. She has you. Do you know how rare that is? You're kind, hardworking, responsible. She's lucky." Her voice dropped. "Sometimes I wish I was the one you married." David's breath caught. "Clara?" Before he could say more, Clara leaned closer. The silence stretched, heavy, until their lips touched. It was brief at first, then deeper, fueled by emotions they had both been suppressing. When it ended, David pulled back, guilt flooding his face. No, this is wrong. You're Sophia's best friend. I'm her husband." Clara's voice was barely a whisper. "I know, but I can't help how I feel." David stood up, pacing. "This can't happen again. It was a mistake." But the truth was, as wrong as it was, he didn't regret it completely. Something inside him was already hooked. The double face. When Sophia returned from her trip, Clara was the first to visit. She hugged Sophia warmly, as if nothing had happened. "Sophie, I missed you. How was your trip?" Sophia smiled, oblivious. "It was good, but I missed you too. And David, he didn't even call me as much." Clara chuckled softly, exchanging a quick glance with David, who looked away nervously. "Don't worry, Sophie," Clara said sweetly. "Men are like that sometimes, but you need to be more patient with him. Try not to argue too much. It only pushes him away." Sophia nodded slowly. "You're right. Maybe I nagged too much." Clara placed a hand on her arm, smiling. "Exactly. Be gentle with him. He loves you." What Sophia didn't know was that Clara's advice was poison, carefully feeding into the cracks of their marriage. Every time Sophia tried to change, it only made her feel like she was a problem, while David grew more distant. Sophia's unease. Weeks passed, and Sophia began to notice the difference. David no longer laughed as easily with her. He spent more time on his phone, less time looking into her eyes. When she reached for his hand, sometimes he pulled away absent-mindedly. One night, as she lay beside him, staring at the ceiling, she whispered, "David, are you happy with me?" David blinked, caught off guard. "Of course I am. Why would you ask that?" "I don't know," Sophia said softly. I feel like you're far away from me lately." David turned to his side, avoiding her gaze. "You're overthinking again, Sophia. Go to sleep." But Sophia couldn't sleep. She stared at the dark ceiling, a strange fear gnawing at her heart. Something was slipping away from her, and she couldn't understand why. In another part of the city, Clara lay awake too, smiling faintly as she replayed the memory of their kiss. For her, it wasn't just a mistake. It was the beginning. Sophia had been restless for days. Something about David had changed. He no longer lingered at the dining table with her. He barely asked about her day. Most evenings, he came home late, claiming he was working overtime. Yet Sophia knew his company schedule. David never used to work this late. That evening, she paced the living room, checking the clock. It was past 11 p.m. The sound of the gate opening jolted her. Finally, when David stepped in, he looked worn out, but not guilty. He dropped his bag and tried to walk past her. "David," Sophia called sharply, "where are you always coming from at this hour?" David sighed. "Sophia, not tonight. I'm tired." She stood in front of him, folding her arms. "No, David, you've been coming home late for weeks. You don't talk to me anymore. Even when you're here, your mind is somewhere else. What's going on?" David dropped onto the couch, loosening his tie. His voice was heavy with irritation. "Why do you always want to control everything I do? If I come home early, you complain. If I come home late, you complain. Sophia, you're suffocating me." Her eyes widened, tears brimming. "Suffocating you? David, I am your wife. I just want to know what's happening to us. Why are you acting like I'm the enemy?" David's words were sharp, cutting her deeply. "Because you are always nagging, always monitoring me. Sometimes I just want peace, Sophia." "Peace." Sophia staggered back as though slapped. For years, she had been a support system, his prayer partner, his biggest cheerleader. Now she was the problem. She turned away, choking back sobs. Clara the pretender. The next afternoon, Sophia called Clara, her voice trembling. "Clara, I don't know what to do anymore. David hardly looks at me. He says I'm suffocating him. Do you think I've changed?" Clara, sitting comfortably on her bed, smiled faintly before disguising it with a sigh. "Oh, Sophie, men can be like that sometimes. Maybe you should give him space. Don't push too much. Just let him breathe." Sophia sniffed. "But what if I lose him?" Clara's tone was syrupy sweet. "You won't lose him. You're his wife. He loves you. But, honestly, Sophie, sometimes men pull away when they feel pressured. Just relax. Be soft with him." Sophia nodded slowly, wiping her tears. "You're right. Maybe I should change." Clara smiled to herself after the call ended. Everything was working perfectly. Sophia was doubting herself, exactly as she wanted. The twist. One night, Sophia had gone to the kitchen for water when she heard David's phone ringing in the living room. She paused at the doorway. The name on the screen made her heart pound. "Clara." David answered quickly, lowering his voice. "Hello." Sophia froze, hidden in the shadows. "David," Clara's voice purred to the speaker. "I've been thinking about you all evening. Why are you still with her? She doesn't deserve you." Sophia's hand trembled so violently the glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. David shot up from the couch, startled. "Sophia?" Her eyes filled with betrayal and confusion. "David, Clara? My Clara?" David stammered, trying to hide the phone. "It's not what you think." But Sophia didn't wait to hear more. She ran to the bedroom, her chest heaving, her world tilting. Something inside her told her she hadn't even seen the worst yet. Sophia knew she couldn't live in suspicion anymore. She needed proof. So she set a trap. The next weekend, she told David she would be visiting her mother overnight. But secretly, she returned later, sneaking quietly into the house. The lights in the living room were dim, but she could hear faint laughter. Clara's laughter. Her chest tightened as she tiptoed closer. She peeked into the room and froze. There was David, her husband, seated close to Clara on the couch. Clara's hand rested boldly on his thigh as she whispered something that made him laugh. Sophia gasped loudly, unable to hold it back. Both heads whipped toward her. "David!" she cried, her voice breaking. "Clara?" Clara didn't flinch. In fact, she smiled coldly. "Well, the truth is out now." Sophia staggered forward, tears streaming. "How could you do this to me, Clara? You were my best friend. My sister." Clara rose slowly, her eyes glinting with victory. "Your sister? Don't fool yourself, Sophia. He was never truly yours. He was waiting for me all along." Sophia covered her ears, shaking her head violently. "No, no, no. This is not real. David, say something. Tell me this is not true." David looked torn, guilt etched on his face. But when his eyes met Clara's, something in his silence confirmed it all. Sophia let out a wail that pierced the room. You betrayed me. Both of you." She staggered backward, her vision blurring, her chest tightening. Everything was a lie. Her knees buckled, and before David could reach her, she collapsed to the floor, fainting. The aftermath. David panicked, rushing to her side. Sophia, wake up." He shook her gently, but her body lay limp. Clara folded her arms, watching coldly. "Don't act surprised." She couldn't handle the truth. David looked up at her, horrified. "Clara, this is not what I wanted. Not like this." Clara smirked. "Oh, stop pretending, David. She was in the way. Now she knows. She'll leave and you'll finally be free." But as David looked down at Sophia's unconscious body, tears pricking his eyes, he realized freedom didn't feel like this. It felt like destruction. And Sophia, even in her weakness, knew one thing as darkness swallowed her. Her world had shattered, but the story wasn't over. The morning after Sophia fainted, everything changed. She woke up in her mother's house, her head heavy and her heart broken. David had dropped her there quietly in the night, unable to face her mother's questions. 2 days later, Sophia returned to her matrimonial home, hoping against hope that David would repent. But when she walked in, half of his clothes were gone. His shoes, his favorite suits, even his cologne, all missing. Her hands shook as she called his phone. "David, where are you? Why is your wardrobe empty?" His voice was cold. "Sophia, I'm with Clara now. Don't call me unless it's important." The phone clicked. Silence followed. Sophia collapsed onto the bed, her sobs filling the empty house. The gossip of the community. It didn't take long for neighbors and church members to notice. David no longer came home. He was seen driving Clara to the market, seen holding her hand at a restaurant. The whispers began. At the women's fellowship, one woman whispered loudly enough for Sophia to hear. Maybe she wasn't a good wife. If she treated him well, why would he leave? Another replied, shaking her head. No, it's Clara who is shameless. How do you betray your best friend like that?" Sophia sat silently in the corner, tears burning her eyes. She felt stripped, naked before the world. Depression's grip. Days blurred into nights. Sophia barely ate. She stayed indoors, curtains drawn. Sometimes she stared at her wedding picture until her vision blurred. "God," she prayed weakly one night, "what did I do to deserve this? Was my love not enough?" Her phone buzzed, but she ignored it until the persistent knocking on her gate forced her to rise. When she opened it, she found Michael, David's childhood friend. He looked at her with concern. "Sophia, I heard what happened. Can I come in?" She hesitated, ashamed. "Michael, please. I don't want pity." "It's not pity," he said firmly. "It's care. You shouldn't be alone right now." Michael, the quiet admirer. Over tea, Sophia finally broke down. "Michael, everyone thinks I failed as a wife. That maybe I drove David away. Do you also think it's my fault? Michael leaned forward, his voice steady. Sophia, don't ever blame yourself for David's choices. He made his decision. He betrayed you. That's not on you. Her lips trembled. But, Clara, she was my sister. I trusted her with my life. Michael's eyes softened, but there was something unspoken behind them. He had always admired Sophia, even before David married her. He remembered the way she laughed during youth fellowship years ago, the kindness she showed everyone. But David had won her heart, and Michael had buried his feelings. Until now. Listen to me, Sophia, he said gently. You are worth so much more than the pain they've caused you. Don't let this destroy you. Sophia looked at him through her tears. For the first time since David left, she felt a flicker of warmth in her broken heart. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, with Michael's support, Sophia began to heal. He visited often, bringing food, fixing things around the house, making her laugh when she thought she had forgotten how. One evening, as they walked together after church, Michael said, Sophia, do you realize you haven't cried in 2 weeks? She stopped, surprised. Really? He smiled. Really? You're stronger than you know. Sophia looked at him, gratitude shining in her eyes. Michael, I don't know how I would have survived without you. His voice was soft, almost trembling. I'm just glad I can be here for you. Meanwhile, in Clara's house, at first, living together felt like a dream for Clara and David. They went shopping, dined out, took selfies, and posted pictures. People whispered, but Clara didn't care. She had won. But the cracks came quickly. One night, David returned late. Clara pounced. Where were you? I've been calling. David groaned, loosening his tie. Work, Clara. Must I explain every movement? Her voice rose. Don't talk to me like that. I left everything for you, and now you act like I'm your maid. David snapped. You knew what you were getting into. Stop acting like a victim. The house turned silent, cold. Financial struggles. David's expenses doubled. Supporting Clara's lifestyle drained him. She wanted new clothes, new furniture, constant outings. But unlike Sophia, who was content with simple things, Clara wanted more, always more. One evening, she threw his wallet on the table. There's barely anything in here. What kind of man are you if you can't take care of me properly? David rubbed his temples, exhausted. Clara, money doesn't grow on trees. I'm doing my best. Clara folded her arms, muttering, Maybe I should have chosen someone else. The word stung. David stared at her, realizing for the first time that maybe he had traded gold for glitter. David and Mrs. Sophia. It was a quiet night. David lay in bed beside Clara, who was already asleep. He stared at the ceiling, his mind restless. He remembered how Sophia used to wait for him at the door, smiling no matter how late he came. How she prayed with him before he left for work. How she laughed softly at his jokes, even the bad ones. He turned and looked at Clara, snoring softly beside him. Her face twisted in a frown even in sleep. For the first time, regret gripped him. Sophia's new strength. At the same time, Sophia was glowing differently. Michael's presence had reminded her of her worth. One evening, he took her to the park. They sat under a tree, children playing nearby. Michael, she said quietly, do you ever think love can find us again after we've been broken? Michael looked at her with honesty. Sophia, love never left you. You are love. You just gave it to the wrong person. One day, the right person will cherish it. Their eyes met, and something unsaid passed between them. Sophia smiled for the first time without pain. Viral hook. Back in her house, Clara watched David quietly one evening. He had been distant for days. Finally, she asked, her voice sharp, David, do you still think of her? Of Sophia? David's silence was the answer. He turned his face away, guilt burning in his chest. Clara's smile faded, replaced with fear. For the first time, she realized the truth. She might have taken him from Sophia, but she could never erase Sophia from his. David and Clara had been together for almost a year, but the shine of their romance was already fading. Bills piled up, Clara complained endlessly, and David found himself drinking more than usual. One evening, David returned home earlier than expected. He opened the door quietly and froze. Clara was on the couch, laughing, her hand resting on the chest of a man in a sleek suit. The man kissed her neck, and she didn't push him away. "Clara?" David's voice cracked. Clara jumped up, guilt flashing across her face, before quickly turning into annoyance. "David, what are you doing here so early?" The man smirked, picked up his car keys, and left without a word. David stood there trembling. "You're cheating on me?" His voice was a mix of pain and rage. Clara folded her arms, unapologetic. "And what if I am? Do you think I left everything just to suffer with you? Look at yourself, David. You're broke. You're bitter. You're nothing like the man I thought you'd be." David's knees weakened. He sat down, holding his head. "I left my wife, my family, for you. I lost everything." Clara's eyes were cold. "That was your choice, David. Don't put on me." Tears blurred David's eyes as he muttered, "I thought you loved me." Clara laughed bitterly. "Love doesn't pay bills. The truth is, I never wanted to build a life with you. I wanted what Sophia had, but you're not half the man she made you look like." Her words cut deeper than knives. David stumbled out of the house, broken, and headed straight to Sophia's doorstep. It was late night when Sophia heard the knock. She hesitated before opening. When she saw David standing there, hair disheveled, shirt wrinkled, eyes swollen, her heart sank, not in pity but in shock. "David?" she asked coldly. He fell on his knees. "Sophia, please. Forgive me. Clara betrayed me. She used me. She doesn't care about me. But you were always there. Please, take me back. Let's start over." Sophia's chest rose and fell heavily. She remembered the night she cried herself to sleep, the betrayal, the humiliation. Michael's words of encouragement echoed in her mind, reminding her of her worth. "Get up, David," she said firmly. He grabbed her hand, desperate. "I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I've realized now it's you I want. It has always been you." Sophia's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was strong. "No, David, you lost me the day you chose her over me." David's lips trembled. "Sophia, please don't say that." "I mean it," she continued. "You shattered my trust, my heart, my home. And now that she's broken you, you think you can crawl back? I'm not the same woman you left. I found myself again. I found someone who truly values me." "Michael," David whispered bitterly. Sophia didn't deny it. "Yes, Michael, the friend you took for granted. The man who never betrayed me. The man who helped me heal. He didn't destroy me, he built me up." David broke down, sobbing at her feet. "I have nothing now." Sophia's face softened for a second, but she stood tall. "That's not my burden anymore. Goodbye, David." She closed the door, leaving him alone in the night, his sobs echoing like a broken man. Months later, the community gathered in a small but elegant garden decorated with white flowers. The air was filled with music, laughter, and joy. Sophia, dressed in a simple but radiant gown, walked down the aisle holding Michael's hand. Her smile was not forced. It was pure, glowing, healed. As the pastor spoke, Sophia's eyes glistened with tears of gratitude. Michael squeezed her hand gently and whispered, "You deserve every happiness, Sophia. And I promise I will never hurt you." She smiled back. "I believe you." The guests erupted in applause when they exchanged vows and sealed their love with a kiss. Sophia's heart, once shattered, now felt whole again. Meanwhile, far away, David sat alone in a small, dark room. His shirt was unwashed, his phone silent. Clara had left him for the wealthy businessman, taking what little savings he had. He scrolled through old pictures of Sophia and sighed bitterly. His world was empty. Clara, on the other hand, was miserable too. The businessman she cheated with eventually discarded her. She sat in a bar, makeup smeared, clutching a glass of cheap wine. No friends, no home, no love. Back at the wedding, Sophia stood before her guests, her voice steady as she gave a short speech. Life is unpredictable. Sometimes the people we trust the most become the very ones who betray us. I thought my life was over when I lost everything. But what I didn't know was that betrayal was a blessing in disguise. It led me to rediscover myself and find true love. She paused, her eyes scanning the joyful faces around her. So if you've ever been broken, remember this. Sometimes betrayal is the blessing you didn't know you needed. The crowd cheered, and Michael wrapped his arms around her. In that moment, Sophia knew she had not only survived the storm, she had bloomed after.